Would you trust your own thoughts if you knew the government had already tried to manipulate them? In a dark chapter of United States history, shocking revelations came to light. The CIA conducted secret experiments to control the human mind. And the most disturbing part, many of those involved had no idea they were being used as test subjects. This isn't a science fiction movie. It's real. And the name behind it all is MK Ultra. At the height of the Cold War, fear was the fuel that drove decisions. The possibility that enemies like the Soviet Union might master brainwashing techniques sparked paranoia behind the scenes of American power. Conducted by the CIA with the goal of studying and mastering mind control. Under the command of Sidney Gottlieb, MK Ultra became a laboratory of horror. What began as a search for more efficient interrogation methods soon turned into an insane crusade for absolute control over the human mind. Techniques such as sensory deprivation, hypnosis, extreme isolation, and most notably, the indiscriminate use of hallucinogenic substances were applied to hundreds, perhaps thousands of individuals, many without even knowing they were being tested. LSD, a newly discovered psychedelic drug at the time, was the main protagonist of these experiments. But it was believed that under its influence, mental barriers would dissolve, revealing hidden information or shaping thoughts. Prior agents, prisoners, psychiatric patients, prostitutes, and even ordinary citizens were exposed to the substance, sometimes with consent, but often completely without their knowledge. The most disturbing part was the way these tests were conducted. Hospitals, universities, and even prisons became silent stages for a spectacle of suffering and confusion. In many cases, the very scientists involved seemed to lose any sense of ethics. One of the most well-known episodes involves Frank Olson, a U.S. Army scientist who was secretly dosed with LSD during a meeting. Days later, amid a psychological breakdown, he fell or was pushed from a hotel window. To this day, his death raises questions. For years, MK Ultra remained in the shadows. The records were carefully kept secret. Many were deliberately destroyed so that the truth would never come to light. But in 1975, a Senate investigation known as the Church Committee finally brought part of the horror to light. The public was stunned. The very existence of the program was an affront to the idea of democracy and civil rights. But even with the revelations, the details remain murky. Of the more than 150 documented sub-projects, few have complete records, and the psychological and physical effects on the participants remain largely unknown. Lives were ruined. Some never recovered. Others didn't even know they had been targets of manipulation until decades later. What makes MK Ultra so disturbing is not just what was done, but what it reveals about us and about power. When institutions are driven by fear, when there is no transparency, and when it is believed that the ends justify the means, the line between national security and abuse of power becomes dangerously thin. There is also a profound reflection on science and ethics? How can we ensure that knowledge is not used against the very people it is supposed to protect? What happens when scientific curiosity is put at the service of domination and control? And even more unsettling, could something similar still be happening today? If it was possible back then, with limited technologies, why not now? With access to data, algorithms, and artificial intelligence, invisible surveillance, algorithms shaping our decisions, informational bubbles, all of these are also modern forms of mind control, more subtle, but no less dangerous. Mkolotra is a warning, a reminder that mental freedom is precious and vulnerable, that the greatest dangers sometimes do not come from outside, but from within, from institutions that should protect us, but which, without limits, can become our worst tormentor. Now I ask you, if you discovered that you were being manipulated, that your perception had been shaped without your knowledge, what would you do? Would you have the courage to question reality, to go against the system? Comment below. Do you think experiments like this still happen today, in more sophisticated ways? Like the video if this story impacted you, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss Small Mind Fragments, where we reveal what many prefer to hide.